News already as polls have opened in Ethiopia. A heavy military presence in the capital Addis Ababa as observers call for a peaceful election. Ethiopia is Africa's second most populous country, and it hosts the headquarters, of course, of the African Union as well. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's Prosperity Party expected to secure a majority of seats, paving the way for him to retain office for another term. Well, we're going to cross to Addis Ababa, talk to our correspondent Tom Canetti, who joins us from there. Tom, already then huge queues in some areas, the polls well and truly open there.
That's right, and there are more than 50 million Ethiopians who have registered for today's vote. But as you mentioned, that's not expected to change the likely outcome. In the last elections in 2021, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the Prosperity Party won with 96% of the vote, and we're expecting a similar outcome with these elections. The Prosperity Party has been campaigning under the slogan of a sheaf of wheat because one of the promises of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has been food security in Ethiopia. He's also been campaigning on his corridor project, which is his personal project to modernize Addis Ababa and other major cities around the country, as well as youth engagement. There are 47 opposition parties which have been allowed to register for these elections, but in the lead up to this vote, I spoke to the leader of one of the opposition parties, the EPRP, who told me that she was afraid of being assassinated or being put in prison, so afraid for her safety ahead of these elections. I also spoke to local journalists here that told me they have been intimidated by the government. For example, Addis Standard, one of the last remaining independent media outlets here, one of their editors just a few weeks before the elections was kidnapped in broad daylight from the newsroom. So despite there being opposition parties, enrolled in these elections, the question really for some is whether the necessary preconditions for a democratic vote are in place.
Tom, since Abiy Ahmed won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019, he's become something of a controversial figure, at least internationally, hasn't he?
That's right. And this country, 70% of Ethiopia is currently affected by armed conflict. And large parts of the regions affected by that conflict will not be able to take place in the vote today. For example, in the Amhara region, there is an ongoing war between the Fano militia and the Ethiopian government forces. My sources in the capital of the Amhara region, Bayida, told me that the Fano militia had warned residents of the capital not to leave their house today and not to take part in the vote because something bad was going to happen. We've also seen videos of those same militiamen burning voting cards and an increase in clashes over the weekend between government forces and the Fano militia. In the Oromia region, the largest region in Ethiopia, there are ongoing clashes between the OLA, the Oromo Liberation Army, and the Ethiopian government. And they launched a new offensive this weekend ahead of these elections. They've also imposed a 7-day roadblock and also told residents of the Oromia state to not leave the house and also not to take part in these elections. And the elephant in the room is Tigray, the region where there was the war that took place between 2020 and 2022 that killed more than 600,000 people. The election board last week confirmed that the entire Tigray region will be excluded from the vote. So and on top of that, there are fears of a renewed conflict after these elections that could take place in Tigray. We've seen government fighter jets circling over Mekelle in the last weeks and reports of forced conscription by the TPLF in Tigray amongst young men in the last week. So the stakes today are not so much about whether Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed can win these elections. That's kind of a given. The real stakes are whether he can control the security situation in a more and more fractured Ethiopia.